Back to D&D Beyond. We are just 1 week away from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons arriving, when we can all dive in and explore all of the goodies contained within. But today, we're going to crack it open just a little bit and take a little sneak peek at some of the creatures, and simultaneously, maybe sort of a Halloween appropriate selection of some of the extremely terrifying creatures that you might find in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. And here to do that with me, please welcome back to the channel, Mike Shea, aka Sly Flourish. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
And just before we get started, have you been up to anything interesting lately that might say have been spectacularly
really.
Cool instantly and very, very well deservedly successful?
Yes, I am. I am in fact hip deep in the middle of a Kickstarter. So I'm running a Kickstarter for the third book of the Lazy Dungeon Master book series, which includes Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Lazy DM's Workbook, and the Lazy DM's Companion, which is the new book. So yeah, I think we have 9 days left in the Kickstarter, and it's been incredibly exciting, incredibly busy, incredibly stressful, and really awesome. And I can't wait to get the book in people's hands.
Well, we are so very glad that you could make some time during that incredibly busy month to come hang out with us. And I am excited to have folks check this book out, because if anyone missed Mike's earlier visit to the channel this summer, he is full of amazing advice to both comfort, inspire, direct, and help manage your DMing. And that is what we are going to get some more of in that book. So congratulations. It funded pretty much instantly.
Thank you so much.
But people can still get it, so they should.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Yep.
But speaking of very exciting things that are coming our way, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons is out in 1 week, and we have a couple of monsters that we are ready to talk about and show off some cool art for. So let's get right into it. On the Halloween front, on the spooky front, we are about to meet Ghost Dragons in 5th edition. Do we have a picture of that ghost dragon we can pop up? Ah! So beautiful, so terrifying. So the Ghost Dragon, a dragon's attachment to a hoard can be strong enough to bind the dragon's spirit to existence after death. Such a ghost dragon haunts the hoard, often forming an attachment to a single priceless object that becomes the focus of the ghost dragon's undead existence. A ghost dragon is a translucent and incorporeal version of the original dragon. Though its breath weapon resembles ghostly flames, lightning, or acid, it carries an otherworldly curse. The breath's shadowy mist can induce waking nightmares. So that's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, first thoughts about the Ghost Dragon?
Oh, there's so many cool ways to use this dragon. I mean, the most obvious is you go into a hoard, you find the whole hoard, and there's no dragon there. And you're like, hey, this is great. We're just going to take all our free stuff. And then, shocker, their dragon is still there. But the other, like one thing I just love. So I'm not a big fan of having a lot of carry on NPCs, right? A lot of different, NPC party members that are with you, because they take up screen time. In combat, you always have to worry about where they are, and it can add a lot of stuff. But I love NPCs that travel with you that are not actually there. And ghosts are great ones, right? I've used ghosts a lot. But the idea of, like, what if you go in and you grab that artifact, and maybe you fight the ghost dragon, right? And maybe that first time you actually fight it, and maybe you even beat it. But then you take the artifact, and the ghost is still there. And now the ghost is with you, right? And now the ghost has an agenda, and you're watching, like, what's the ghost trying to accomplish as it's hanging on with the characters, right? And maybe they're kind of friends, and the ghost is giving interesting advice, and maybe they think they're friends, but they're not, and the ghost has its own agenda, but the item is so powerful. It's actually a great way to work with, like, players who min-max, because if you give them a really good item, that has this like evil entity in it that's constantly twisting things around, they're never going to want to get rid of that item, right? You don't have to have it. You don't have to have it like bound to them. They're just like, no, it's +3. Are you kidding? I'm not getting rid of this mace. And you're like, yeah, even though it's got this dragon that's working this whole agenda in it. So yeah, so that there's just so many interesting ways. This is a dragon you could fight more than once, right? You could fight it one time and maybe either defeat it or get an angle on it, and then it sort of goes in the artifact and it stays with you. You don't realize you have a ghost with you for all this time. And then you eventually get to a spot where it's revealed, and then maybe the big conclusion is you have to fight the dragon again because it wants the artifact back. So I just love that idea. I've used the idea of like, not exactly cursed items, but questionable, items with questionable personalities tied to them, right? And it's always just a fun angle. And I think a ghost dragon would be a really awesome way to do that. Fun monster to fight, maybe even more than once. Fun monster to talk to. Fun monster to have hang out with your party as it sits inside your evil curse +3 mace. Lots of really great ways I think to use this guy. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see
I
it.
will say that I also, the part about one particular treasure it might have bonded to instantly jumped out at me, because that's just delicious story stuff where it's just like, here, have this ruby. It has a friend,
Right.
that naturally
And
walks you down that road.
maybe you have an item that upgrades, right? So you have an item where the ghost dragon is giving you information about where to take it to make it more powerful. And it's growing in power, but the dragon is also growing in power. There's so many. Yeah, I think there's just so many cool angles.
I love that. And we know that a big focus when they were putting this book together was to really hone the mythology of dragons and make sure that it made sense with the world of the story and the rules of the game. So the
Worlds. Yeah.
idea that what?
The worlds of the story, right? There's
Mhm.
the whole idea
Yes,
of the
fair,
first
fair.
world is how do we tie together all the worlds?
One first world to rule them all. But we have seen that unique connections to the land around them and to the treasure in their hoards, and what that means about the dragons are a big focus here. And I love that. I believe this is not the first edition to feature something on the like a kind of ghost dragon, but I love the idea of linking it to the horde here because it opens up those story possibilities, and it's just one of those small elegant touches that I was like, aha, I see what you're doing, and it's cool and consistent.
Yeah,
And I love
absolutely.
the flavoring of the many kinds of interpretations of a breath weapon that we get in this book. I am
Right.
excited and frightened by.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
EMT Man says, if I wanted to keep a ghost dragon as a pet, what would it eat? Seems like an important question.
Souls. Now, I don't know. What do ghosts? I don't think, do ghosts eat? So ghosts probably think they eat, right? And they probably still want some of the stuff that they think they eat, even though they don't. Like ghosts are kind of stuck between worlds. So it probably thinks it wants the same thing it would have eaten when it's alive. And you have to like bring that to them, but it actually can't eat it. Right. So I don't know.
That
Or souls.
I would imagine like it derives some sort of non-nourishing satisfaction from it, or is perpetually frustrated by that. But what one imagines, of course, the jaws just passing uselessly through whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
You're like, I brought you. It's just like my cat, right? Like I brought you all this food and you just sit and leave it on the plate and you don't eat it and you wander away, right? So I guess that's probably what the ghost dragon would do.
We have another great question. Hey Ross Hay says, how would you flavor a maybe homebrewed ghost dragon themed draconic bloodline sorcerer? And I'm going to open that up and just
Oof.
say that I love how this dragon plays to player options, especially given that we now have several subclasses which are kind of ghost focused. We were just talking about the Phantom Rogue the other day. Of course,
Yeah.
there's Bards, College of Spirits. There's a lot of fun
Right.
synergy possibilities there. But ghost dragon themed draconic bloodline sorcerer. Any ideas?
I mean, I would probably handle a lot of it in flavor, right? And I think that idea of tying together, finding the different builds that work with that, and then sitting with a player and really thinking like, what does the player want from it, right? What is
Yeah.
their goal? I think that could be very unique and interesting.
I think that could be fun. All right, this next one is a fave of mine in the book because we don't just get dragons and dragon related beings, but they've thought through sort of dragon's effect on the world. And in this case, I love they specifically said the ecosystem that might arise around dragons. So if you want to be fully surprised by some unpleasant possibilities when you wander into a lair, plug your ears for this next one because we're going to talk about the Hoard Scarabs.
Yeah, you want
The
me to take
Hoard
this one?
Scarabs. Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Sure. Hoard Scarabs are beetle-like creatures that, though through some feat of natural adaptation or alchemical ingenuity, blend in perfectly among piles of gold coins. They feed on tiny mites that infest a dragon's scales and lair, and their painful bite can be a strong deterrent to would-be treasure thieves. Hoard Scarabs also produce a glittering metallic dust from their wings that coat intruders who get too close to them. It cracks me up. The magic of this dust allows the lair's draconic owner to sense intruders' locations as they move. So it has ink. It has like the ink packets, right? Of like from like taking money from a bank, right? It sprays you like you're stuck in. Like, why are you gold? They're like, oh, we tried to steal this dragon's gold and we got covered in gold dust and we're stuck. It's glitter. It's the worst, right? Like, oh, I'd be like, I'm never going another dragon's hoard again. Get coated in glitter.
What do you need to get glitter out? Greater restoration? A wish spell?
I don't think there's anything. Yeah, no, probably maybe a wish. A wish might not be enough. I don't know. There'll always be some left there. There'll be like one up in your eyebrow that you can't get rid of even after a wish. So yeah, really cool. I haven't seen the stat block, so I don't know like are these how big are these? But it seems like this is kind of a fun way. Yeah, this is a fun way to have sort of another angle on acquiring a dragon's hoard, and could be quite a surprise if you think like, hey, I defeated a dragon, I get the hoard, or again, you wander in. I mean, a dragon might have fun with this. I don't know which one of the dragons is like the trickster dragon, right? But the dragon might be like, I'm staying invisible, right? And I'm going to hide in my thing, and I'm going to wait till they try to steal the gold and they get covered in gold dust, and then I'm going to be like, and then point at them, and then breathe on them and kill them, right? Like, so yeah, I think
the
that could be
mockery first, and then the death.
Right? Yeah, right. Laugh and point, and then the lightning breath. So yeah, but that definitely looks like fun, and kind of a fun angle on like, we beat the dragon, everything's great. Look at all this gold, you grab it, and then bang, the greediest person gets hit with the gold dust and gets eaten by little Hoard Scarabs.
I love the idea that this complicates, if you're like, maybe we can make it in and out without the dragon finding us, this complicates that. If you just finish a battle like you're saying, and you're just in the looting phase, this complicates that. In a fun, optional, like additional layers you don't see coming for the game way. And I do imagine they are designed to blend in as coins. So they're little guys. But I suspect they also can behave in the way of beetles or other things. So there might be some surprises in that sense as well. But
yeah, maybe they don't hit right away
as well.
Right? Maybe you pile them into your bag, and it isn't until you're in town and you pull them out and then they explode out. You're like, what happened? Hoard Scarabs. Yeah, cool stuff.
Let's see. What ideas do you have for the Hoard Scarabs?
I think I just gave them all. Trickster dragon, using them as a trap so that it can make fun of party members before eating them. I think that having them not necessarily, I don't know if it fits the lore, but having them not manifest right away and manifest later when your gold's all together, and then you got to go through like each gold coin and see which one's a scarab and which one's a real coin. That could be kind of a fun thing to do. So yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe an alchemist wants you to go get them, right? Maybe you have to go find the scarabs. Yeah. That kind of ruins the surprise, but I don't know.
We've had references to dragons with multiple layers as well. We saw this with the Moonstone Dragon preview, that the idea that they might be connected by portals or otherwise. And so that sense of, there's a good chance if a dragon has multiple layers, it's probably not in all of them at once. So that increases the odds you can go in and out undetected. But these little dudes, of course, are here to complicate that as well. And I just think it's a really neat idea. The commitment to the way dragons shape the environment around them. Of course, there would be like second level species and third level species that evolve by fantasy rules into appropriate niches to kind of support or like occupy those things in a dragon's lair. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Neat stuff.
I believe Hoard Scarabs also have appeared in previous editions, but I did not check how the lore has changed over time. So please educate me in the comments.
Somebody there knows.
Our third monster up today is maybe less spookily terrifying, but still pretty threatening, because we also have a look at the Liondrake coming back into D&D in a big way. Apparently one of the oldest of the creatures present in every edition of D&D, aka, I don't know how to say this, the Dragon?
The dragon? I have your guess is as good as mine.
uh, this one,
And-
let's see. Get my text up bigger. So, the Liondrake is a solitary and territorial predator with the long neck and wings of a brass dragon and the head and body of a lion, including a luxurious mane on the males. Sometimes known as dragons. Sorry. Lion drakes rely on their ferocity and their frightful roar to overcome prey and drive off rivals. Lion drakes are voracious hunters that range across well established territories. They don't typically seek out people as prey, but those folk who encroach into lion drake territory are fair game, which feeds the creature's reputation as hungering for humanoid flesh. So I think these folks are real beautiful, but other than that, first reactions?
It has a mean look on his face. It's not a happy monster. Sounds like one that would hunt. I mean, it all seems about territory and hunting. So you imagine not the one you don't really go and have a conversation with. I don't know. It'd be interesting. I think it would be an interesting monster to replace a manticore or a chimera with, right? If you want a new angle on that same style of monster, the great big flying hunter that you're not quite at dragon level yet, but you want something like this. This would be a good one to shake up people who have fought manticores and chimeras a lot. Be a good one
And
to
I
fill
do.
in that role,
That
I
was
think.
that's also what jumped out at me was the idea of the hunting grounds. That these things won't necessarily come into a city and mess people up, but if you are
Right.
journeying through a particular terrain, you could have these in your pocket for your potential wandering
Sure.
monsters or other
Good.
planned
Yeah.
dangers along the way.
Good monster for a hunting quest. Good monster to have in a territory as you're traveling from one place to the other. People can warn you, oh, watch out. The dragon is out there. So kind of
And
a fun thing.
very excited to get more details on the frightful roar because that would be a probably non-accidental choice of words.
I can guess.
But
Yeah.
I okay, but how do we DM a frightful roar? Would you be like it lets out a frightful roar, or would you actually try to do it? Just to focus in here for a second.
Boy. I would probably go maybe a little bit of both, right? I'd start off with lets out a frightful roar, see how my players take that, might try the roar. How's my throat feeling at the time? Current energy level of the game. A lot of factors come into whether or not you actually try to roar or not. Probably I would try to roar. I think I have a tendency to try to roar.
I'd like to think I would probably give it a shot. It could end up inadvertent comedy territory. You never know.
Which is fine. I mean, maybe your game's different than mine. It's pretty much there all the time anyway. So, yeah, no problem.
All right. Next up on our list, we have two monsters that we got a look at this summer in the Dragon Plus, the Dragon Magazine previews, but we haven't had a chance to talk about here yet. So we have to dive in. These next two, they're here to haunt your dreams and steal your brain. We have the Eyedrake, which first off, just an awesome name. And more eyeballs, more problems. Oh, that's actually our elder brain dragons, which we're gonna cap off with today. But please go ahead and let it sear itself into your terrified eyeballs. But the Eyedrake is, let me get my article up. The Eyedrake is our little buddy with a perpetually open mouth with a giant eyeball in it, with wings that are not so much wings as they are eye stalks, with branching eye stalks upon them, with no other proper limbs, because this is not a regular dragon. This is what happens when a beholder spends a lot of time thinking about dragons, and it's bad for everybody. Because as we know from Volo's, beholders are formed from the dreams of other beholders, and this is one particularly twisted kind of dream that could emerge from a beholder being very focused on dragons over time. And they've described, in basic outline, an Eyedrake resembles both a dragon and a beholder. It looks like a winged draconic creature, but it has no true limbs, and those wings are made of eye stalks. Its mouth is perpetually open, showing a large central eye, that emits a breath-like wave of anti-magic energy. It really is the breath weapon of a dragon with an anti-magic cone of a beholder. Two great tastes that taste great together, says James Wyatt with dubious. Register your opinions in chat on whether this is delicious. But I do think it's extremely cool. First thoughts on the Eyedrake?
Is it allied with the beholder who dreams it up, or is it a an antagonist against that beholder? Is one question. And I think I guess I'd have to go back and dig up my Volos and see when a beholder dreams up another beholder. I don't think they're friends. They're almost always solitary. So, but I don't know if they immediately go in and fight each other to the death. Again, kind of another fun creature to throw out there if your group is already, has faced their share of beholders. But I don't know if you can ever have enough beholders. But this would be kind of a fun angle. I'm really curious to see the difference in eye stalks. What does it do? Is that breath weapon more than just an anti-magic cone? Does it do both? Is it anti-magic and something else? That could be really fun. That could be an interesting angle. It looks really cool. Just all kind of crazy. Another one that's good and reskinnable for other worlds, right? For other planes. Like, beholders are aberrations. They if they're not from it, they certainly have a tie back to like the far realm. And if you ever have, I think this one I might be able to throw into my campaign pretty soon here. That if you ever have sort of ties to the far realm, you can always bring in things like this, just monsters, that just you show the picture and they're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, right? Like my mind, I know we often talk about how my character's mortal mind can't comprehend, but in this case, my mortal mind can't comprehend what I'm looking at. And you're like, well, that's fine, but start rolling saving throws. So yeah,
like I'm going to make a personal wisdom saving throw against trying to understand how to deal with this in game. Yeah,
right. I don't know if my character's under stress effects, but I sure am.
Oh, wow. Okay, the range doof arg, an eye dragon, little eye. Steve Jobs has a lot to answer for. It's terrible, and I appreciate you. Hmm? So yeah, I think these little folk are lovely in a terrifying way. There's something about the perpetually open mouth with the eye in it that is
it's
just
freaky.
A beautifully grisly little choice that they've made there. And we do know from this article, this one is going to be challenge rating 8. So a nice beefy for early adventure to mid adventure kind of things. And
but
filling out
not
that
full
middle
beholder
range.
level yet. Yeah.
I wonder, like, if the Eyedrake dreams of things, do we get like further? Like, how far does this
mutations? Apply? Right. What does it? Probably eye gold scarabs, right? Like it's thinking of treasure.
Coins that blink at you?
Coins that blink at you and hit you with eye rays. And then coat you in gold.
Glitter. That'd be like if they had a transmutational effect where they're like Midas blinking coins, that would be very scary. All right.
Yeah, and
finally, let's bring back that extremely terrifying. My first reactions to the Elder Brain Dragon.
I feel so bad for that dragon. Like I kind of, I don't know what any dragon does to deserve what happens when they become a Elder Brain Dragon. It sounds horrible. And maybe that's the fun angle. Right?
It's probably too late to save that dragon, but I could certainly say wishing to try. The full grisly details on the transformation, as we learned from James in that Dragon Plus preview. Typically, an Elder Brain lives at the center of a Mind Flayer community, immobile in a pool. Rather than implanting a tadpole into a dragon, the normal way of converting and making more servants, the Elder Brain forms a sac on the dragon's back and covers it with a membrane and tentacles, transforming it into a hideous aberration. It also extends its tentacles into the dragon's brain to take control of its body. So if y'all read that body horror section in the Ravenloft book, then you are slightly more prepared.
Right. You're gonna like lines and veil. You better be using your lines and veils on this one because you're gonna need about 7 trigger warnings on this guy.
Truthfully, there might be tables I would not roll the Elder Brain Dragon up to, especially if I'm like, hey, it's your very first game of D&D. Would you like to never forget this in a bad way? But it's a
Right.
really cool monster, and
It
as
is.
Wyatt
Yeah.
drives home, it takes the threat of an Elder Brain and makes it mobile, so that's fun.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I didn't even know anything about it, but I saw the picture on Twitter. And I retweeted the picture and I was like, Elder Brain Dragon. And one of the players of my game just replied with, nope, 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 nope. Like, I'm banning that from your game. I'm like, can you do that? He's like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm like, but it's so cool. It's a dragon, Elder Brain. He's like, nope.
And just gorgeously realized. This is one of the best pieces I've seen.
Yeah, the art is
if you can
crazy good.
stand to look at it for more than 2
Did we
seconds.
I was horrified by its look and may have missed this. Did you describe the fact that it breathes out the brine fluid that has the mind flayer tadpoles in it?
We haven't mentioned that little detail yet.
Yeah. So just in case, that's what I'm saying. Like just in case, like taking a dragon and binding it down and then affixing this elder brain whose tentacles go in and modify the brain of the dragon and take full control of it. If that's not horrifying enough, it also breathes out mind flayer symbiotes. And so it's like if you're dropped by this guy, to quote my talk about Halloween movies, to quote one of my favorite Halloween movies, Prince of Darkness, pray for death because it may be better than what you're going to get if this thing gets its way.
And it's we also know this one is a challenge rating 22.
Yeah.
So maybe get out of there if you see one of these. Although it's telepathic up to several miles, I think. So that's going to be tough.
Yeah, so you can't hide. Yeah, definitely one of the most memorable ones that I saw so far from the previews of this book. I can't
love
wait
how
to see its stat block.
I'm very excited to get to dig into more meaty information about running these and how they function and play. But I also love that this one's such a great example of the creativity they brought to this, because obviously, yes, we just want more information about dragons of the regular kind. We want some gem dragons. We want younger ones and older ones and all this stuff. But they're like, what if dragons but? And they've answered that question in just 1,000 different ways that are so much fun.
Yep.
EMT Man's submitted a question, and their question is, why? Dear God, why?
Exactly. Because.
All right. Let's see. We have a few more things that we want to go over today that were previewed out for the upcoming Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Some of it was that there's some advice for role-playing dragons, some guidance on sort of think about how those age categories and those different personalities that are hinted out might express in your particular dragon that you're bringing to life. Was there anything that jumped out at you from the role-playing tips, Mike, that you might use in game?
Nothing. I mean, I think a lot about dragons, so I don't know. But the thing that I think about a lot is how unique they are, right? That each one of them is so unique. And when they live, these creatures, they are very, very smart, and they live for thousands of years, or can live for thousands of years. There's so much of an angle that you can do with that. I ran Storm King's Thunder and had 2 dragons as kind of the main NPC and the main villain in that adventure, and just constantly putting myself in their heads and thinking about what they would do and what they wanted and what they were afraid of. So much fun to do, right? And those dragons, I mean, I was thinking about them from the first session, and I got to bring them into the game often. And I think that's really the beauty of a dragon, is they're not just a boss fight, right? They're not like a monster that you go in and you walk into a cave and there they are and you fight them and maybe you get killed and maybe they kill you. That dragons can be an antagonist through an entire campaign, if you play them right. And they are, short of like liches and vampire lords and things like that, they are they're going to be really, really hard foes to face. It could be tricky to run too. Like, I don't know what a 1,000-year-old dragon thinks about, right? So I've got to figure that out. So I'm glad to have a book that is going to give me a lot of advice on how to kind of think through the eyes of our draconic villains and our draconic NPCs.
Absolutely. And we did get a little taste. This was in an article for Inverse that they sort of released some of these hints to. One really fun one I thought is that we often say things like make your NPCs memorable and distinctive, but it's sort of like, all right, well, that's great advice, but how? And I
Right.
love that, like, jumping in to fill in that gap to give you some ideas to help, like, sort out your curiosity. We have things like the mannerisms table. And I have to ask now, Mike, did you bring dice today to the stream?
I do. I have dice.
Because I love to roll
Who
on a
doesn't have
table. So
dice?
if you,
Everybody's got dice.
I do
Presume
tend to
everybody
assume.
out there, you better have dice within hand's reach at all times.
Can you give me a roll of a d20, please, to find out what mannerism we might add to our particular ancient dragon?
Sure. I rolled a 7.
All right. With a 7, oh, I like this. A little physical mannerism. Your ancient dragon maybe fiddles with the tip of its tail throughout the conversation. Could indicate boredom or playfulness or easily distracted or just something to do.
A
You
good
want to
one.
give me another one?
Sure. Switch dice. 19.
With a 19, oh, here we go. Sighs restlessly, giving an impression of tremendous boredom.
When an ancient dragon sighs, how much damage is that? Right? Probably not. Probably measurable.
Can you like homebrew a like the more irritated they are, the more the sighing is ramping up
Yeah, they're
into
just like
a
whatever their element is, just gets hotter and hotter around them, right? Like blue dragons, just electricity is arcing off of them, hitting the area, and you're like, we better make this conversation quick or get to the point. This is going to be bad for us. Poison
basically
flowing out of the green dragon.
a timer on that conversation inherently. I love that.
Right.
I also think these portraits are wonderful. This is sort of an example of
Yeah,
dragons
they
of the
look
same
awesome.
kind can mhm, uh, that they can vary widely in shape, size, color, and ornamentation. And I love the idea of like the fancy jewelry, which of course raises the question: who makes the fancy jewelry for the dragons?
I mean, whoever they ask, right? Like, are you gonna say no? Like, I want crazy long, uh, green earrings that hang from the fins on my head. And like, yep, all right, we'll get on it. And they don't have any problem paying for it, right? They'll commission it. But they're probably hard bosses, right? I bet you they have to go back and forth a lot. I bet you they're
They've
pretty
seen every
particular
kind
about
of
their
craftsmanship there
jewelry.
is, so they're going to have very high standards by now.
Yeah, yeah. Be fun to throw.
I do feel like
I
there's
wonder. I don't know if the book covers it. It'd be interesting if there's magic items for dragons, right? I suppose you can always do it, right? You can always take existing magic items and apply them to dragons. I've certainly done that in the past. Uh, but that's always an interesting angle. Like what I mean, why wouldn't they use the magic items they got? As in it, I think Clouth the ancient worm, is a wand wielder. I think they've talked about how Clouth can fire off a pair of wands if breathing on you isn't enough. Good time. I think I did
I
that in my
also I
campaign where he was hurling. He had a wand and he didn't know what it did and he was firing it off and it was just doing random stuff and he just threw it in the corner with disgust and walked away and the party went over and it was a wand of wonder, right? And they're like, oh, like we got a wand of wonder because he didn't like it because it's inconsistent.
I love that very much, and it does feel like there's also beautiful story possibilities in, like, let's say you are not remotely ready to tackle with a dragon yet, but your party has bonded with a tradesman in the local town who is now in a bind because they've been commissioned to make something that will require materials that you need to fetch from the other side of the mountains or they're gonna
Right.
get roasted.
It's
There we go.
stuck in a cave that's guarded by a dragon, and you've got to go hunt down the dragon and get into the cave so you can get the item so you can make this piece of jewelry for this very, very angry dragon. Very particular customer.
I love it. There's one more table that I thought was very fun from this preview. And this time it's let's say you are so lucky as to defeat one of these dragons. I like already giggling because a number of things could happen next. The official description here, death of a dragon. Dragons are intimately bound up with the fabric of magic that undergirds the material plane. As a result, the death of any dragon is an event of tremendous significance, and those who bring about a dragon's death are often changed forever. Some sages describe dragons as being akin to knots in the fabric of magic, concentrations of power in material form. When a dragon dies, that knot is undone, sometimes resulting in a surge of magical energy. You can use the Dragon Death Throes table to help you decide what happens when a dragon dies. And then I love this next note. I don't know if this might be like a DM secret to have in pocket, but I love that they included this. Characters who slay a dragon are often on their last legs when the dragon finally succumbs. So if an effect is likely to kill a character, roll again or choose a less dangerous result. I like that. Up
It's
to
one of
you,
those
obviously.
guidelines. Yeah, right. That's one of those guidelines. You're like, do I do that or I not do that? I don't know.
But I love that they
It's a
weren't like, if you
TPK.
feel
Maybe that
compelled to
would be
do rules as written, like you're completely
right.
boned. Can you give me a d6 roll to see
You
what
bet.
happens at the end of our long and bitter fight against the dragon in our moment of victory?
I got a 4. Hey, look, wild magic. Now we got to find another table.
This is one of the most fun results because a 4, of course, is the roll on the Wild Magic Surge table in the Sorcerer section of the PHP. Rerolling
which
any
I
inappropriate
happen to have
result.
just loaded on D&D Beyond, right?
Oh, please do it.
So I can roll my wild magic and see what happens. That is a 29, and a 29 is you teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see. Would that be of the dragon's choice? Or can the dragon teleport someone else 60 feet? Be like, you're going over that giant pit full of scarab coins, right? I don't know. You could have a lot of fun.
I do love the idea that actually that one does sort of fit the idea that the magical energies might just expel you all from the lair and then you have to get back in to sort of get
You're
at
out.
the loot.
Right.
We were also talking about the idea of not re-rolling the inappropriate results so that the majestic dragon has died and then you
Right.
all just get transformed into things.
Yep, plants and whatnot. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of using multiple rolls from this table at the same time. Although some of them are kind of contradictory. So the dragon uses its breath weapon and breathes on you and does 77 damage on you. But then you immediately, a surge of life energy erupts out of the dragon, causing each creature within 120 feet to gain the benefits of a long rest. So it's like you take a bunch of damage, but you get a long rest.
It would be something to remember for sure, certainly. Especially if one knocked you out and the other one immediately revived you feeling better than ever.
Right.
A very confusing experience of the dragon's death. All right, so those are a few of the things to look forward to from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, which we are 1 week away from getting to crack open and bring to life at our tables everywhere around the world. I just got hung up on the word tables because there's tables in the thing that we're going to bring to our tables. Was there anything from our list today that you think might be first for you in the deeper dive?
Yeah. I'm going to have to go straight for that Elder Brain Dragon and see what it does. I can't not. It's like watching a car accident. I have to go there. I have to look. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Note to self, Mike already implanted with Illithid's beware
Probably.
Future. Okay.
Yep. Next time, right?
And I was wondering, let's see, I think we have a couple more questions that came in. Everyone, we took a poll about favorite dragons. That's exciting. Let's see. Final result, Gem with 30, Metallic with 25, and Chromatic with 21.
Wow.
The Chromatic
Got
dragons
a bit of
will
the
not
shiny
take that
new
lightly.
factor. Yeah, right. It's like, well, the gem dragons are all shiny and new, so we love them right now. Be interesting. I don't know very much about gem dragons, so it's going to be very interesting to dive into gem dragons. There's so much I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to see I want to kind of dive deeper into the great worms and how the great worms work. I want to read more about the first world and the echoes, the dragon echoes, and how that plays out. There's the aspect of Bahamut and the aspect of Tiamat that are really interesting. So there's all the magic items and everything else. There's so much cool stuff in here. I can't wait to dive into it. I'm really looking forward to it.
which I believe those aspects they officially announced the aspects of Bahamut and Tiamat at challenge rating 30.
Yep.
So that's going to be a lot of fun for
Yeah.
someone. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited to dive deeper on this stuff. What you said about the echoes and the great worms also ties into one of those other results on the death throws table, which is this question of
Yeah. Right.
dragons and their counterparts across different planes, which is very exciting. But if this is all a lot for us to take in, and we're trying to figure out what we need to add to our campaigns and how, in order to coalesce a universe of options into a nice, organized campaign that we understand how to prepare for, where could we potentially get some help with that? Would you tell us about the Lazy DM's Companion?
Sure. So yeah, so the Lazy DM's Companion. The Lazy DM's Companion is a book of guidelines and inspiration to help you prepare and run your D&D games. It is built on the same principles that went in behind Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master and the Lazy DM's Workbook, where Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master is kind of the book you sit back in a big chair and you open it up and you read it and you think about it and scratch your chin and enjoy a coffee and then kind of refresh yourself with every so often. And the workbook is like sitting there on your table while you're running your game, giving you tables full of inspiration when you need ideas. The companion is there to help you in between these two things. It's there to help you. It's giving you a bunch of guidelines to streamline play. Like, what if you want to run 100 skeletons? How does that work? Or how do you are there ways to do overland travel? This idea of point crawls. Are there ways to do overland travel built from interesting locations and the natural pathways that connect them? So lots of guidelines like that, and then these inspirational generators where some of them are based on a particular theme, like Seven Samurai, protect a village. Who are the villagers? Who are the bandits? Where do the bandits hide? On all these different kind of tables that you can roll on to generate unique adventures, but built around a particular theme. So yeah, so 64 pages of those kinds of guidelines, one guideline per page. So you get a lot of stuff, a lot of easy to use stuff that you can kind of drop into your game and roll with it. So I'm been having a blast using it myself. I've really enjoyed talking to folks about it. So I'm really, really happy to that the Kickstarter is doing so well, and I cannot wait to get it in people's hands.
We love the work you do, so we're very psyched to be able to shout
thank
about
you.
that. So please, if this sounds like something you could use at your table, go check that out. Where can the people find you if they want to know more about this or what you're up to?
Sure. So the best place to find anything I do is on my website, slyflourish.com. If you go there, there are links to all of the other aspects of the things I do, including on the upper right-hand side, and a link that you can click on to go straight to the Kickstarter if you wanted to check out this book. So yeah, that's the best place to find me and the stuff that I do.
Let's see. I'm checking if we have time for one or more. Did we find out from you last time, Sly, what your favorite dinosaur is?
My favorite dinosaur? I think I'm going to go with the Triceratops because it was my dad's favorite dinosaur. And he was a very smart guy, so I assume he knew what he was talking about. I'll go with Triceratops. Yeah.
I like that. Just like they inherited family allegiance to the
Sure.
Triceratops.
I think
it's a new flavor.
I think I have a little Triceratops model that he used to keep on his desk. And I have it around here somewhere on my desk. I don't know where it is right now.
Excellent. Let's see. Oh, and just an idea prompt before we get out of here. Fossmutton01 says, does anyone have examples for why or how a good aligned adventuring party would find themselves fighting a metallic dragon?
I've got one. I mean, you can always go with the cursed metallic dragon, right? So the game that brought me into D&D was Pool of Radiance, the old SSI computer game from long ago. And the villain of that game, spoilers for a 35-year-old game, is is a bronze dragon that has been taken over by a demonic ghost, right? And the dragon is now part of this. This has been cursed by a ghost. So the interesting angle on cursed dragons is that you don't want to just beat them and then kill them, right? You want to save them. You want to find a way. So you're stuck in this position of having to fight it, but also trying to help it at the same time. So that can definitely be a fun angle. And yeah, I wrote a book with James Intercasso and Scott Gray called Fantastic Layers. And in that book, we have an ancient gold dragon that he was stabbed with a cursed spear, and the spear has sort of grown through his body. Not quite as nasty as the Elder Brain Dragon, but in a similar way. And so he's now a fiend, right? He's become this devilish gold dragon, and you can save him, but you have to beat him down first. And he's he's tuned around 20th level characters, so he is very, very hard to beat. So yeah, so I
Oh,
think
exciting.
that's an easy way. So why they would most likely be that reason. But of course, as we know, that alignment is flexible, so there's no reason there can't be evil metallics, and there can be good chromatics. I mentioned Clouth, right? Clouth, the ancient red dragon. He has a spot in Storm King's Thunder, and Clouth was a red dragon, right? But he was a quest NPC for our character, so he was kind of mean and crotchety, right? He almost always was polymorphed into a gnome, so he's a very small guy that would walk around. But you're like, yeah, but he's not really a gnome. He's an ancient red dragon, so treat him nicely. And
Alignment cranky.
right, alignment cranky, exactly. And so, he was their friend the whole time. He never betrayed him. He never caused any problems. So yeah, you can definitely shake up your alignments for all of these dragons. Individual monsters can always deviate from their, from the stated alignment that's there. So I like doing that a lot.
Absolutely.
And
As we've been reminded with those typically alignments now coming back into
yeah,
play.
exactly. Yep. And that's been going on forever, right? Like there have been bad metallics and good chromatics going back as far as the game has been made. So yeah.
And soon we will have so much more to bring to our table. Thank you so much for joining us. It was such a blast talking dragons with you today and getting thoroughly spooked out by some of what we saw. And if you are watching this before Thursday, you will not want to miss our next show because we've been repeating some of the cool quotes from the Dragon Meister, James Wyatt, who is the lead author on this project. But we're going to get some answers straight from the dragon's mouth because he is going to come and join us on Thursday's show. So I hope you will come hang out for that. And we will see you next time on D&D Beyond.
It's D&D.